Women of Reddit. What do you think would be the worst thing about being a man? The constant pressure in society that the man has to pay for meals, drinks, etc. I feel like it all would add up really quickly. It 100% does. But there's no outlet for that pressure. We just have to suck it up. Having to be the person physically in charge in a threatening situation. Like always being with a man when walking home from a party in a sketchy area at night. Yes, there is safety in numbers, but the dude is expected to be protective regardless of level of awareness. Self-defensive. Or drunkenness. That's a lot of pressure. Oh, you got stuck taking care of the kids today. Huh? Giving mom a day off. Finally, dads know what I'm talking about. People expecting that I could fight. Man. My ex-girlfriend chatting to some scary guy on a train who was acting out. And then just turning to me with a "Are you going to let him speak to me like that?" look on her face when she pissed him off enough. Dude would have FK'd me up if I wasn't so good at being diplomatic. The negotiator. That's my favorite move in a fight. I would not be allowed a moment of weakness. Bad day? You can't cry unless your mother just died. Hurt yourself? Suck it up and go to the hospital. Feeling self-conscious about your body? Nobody cares. Feeling ill? Someone has a man cold. I found out my mom was dying from cancer 2 weeks before she did. She kept it from me. I was still sad 2 weeks later, and my ex-wife told me I needed to stop sanctifying her because we always had problems and argued often, and I kept thinking about the happy times I had with her. Being expected to be more effective at physical labor. Being expected to do more dangerous work. Receiving less empathy when struggling with emotional issues. My wife literally came home one night and told me she was leaving for another man. Took my money and filed for divorce. She also took and kept the dog. I was allowed 1 day off from work to deal with it, our court date. If I even slightly mentioned it, people would go silent. And it's 6 months later and everyone expects me to be completely over it. It's torture. Being arrested for defending myself against an abusive partner. When I was in high school, my dad got remarried to a woman with a ton of emotional baggage. She was verbally abusive, and would start fights with anyone who would take the bait. They got in an argument one night, and she started to shove him. He put his hands in his jacket pocket so that there could be no confusion of him hitting her. When he refused to engage, she told him she would kill his kids in their sleep. He called the cops. They came, listened to the story, and my dad went to jail. She was alone in the house with all of my siblings. I was out of town that night. My dad is a big teddy bear. I've never seen him in trouble with the law until that night. I got him out of jail the next day, and then worked with him to send my younger siblings to live with my mom in Utah. And I got an apartment with my next youngest brother. He had a criminal record for having his and his children's lives threatened. That was really FK'd up. F that. Honestly. Probably people just assuming that you'll do all of the gross s that no one else wants to do. Fixing up the car? Unclogging the toilet? Cleaning out the spider webs in the attic? Scrubbing the mildew out of the bathtub? Guys are just expected to do it all without complaint because that's the manly thing to do. As a woman, I find it pretty unfair. Hands down always being the villain. A colleague of mine was a bit on the heavier side, but decided to get into shape and started jogging. So he jogs around his block daily until his smartwatch tells him his quota for the day is full. That day he was a bit late but went for a jog when the sun was setting. Not many people out there. But as he was on his way, some girls saw him jogging their way. Got scared and called the cops on him for obviously trying to chase them to RP them or something. Now, the guy didn't know about the call. He just sees 2 girls seeing him coming, turning around and running away, and he's like, "What the FK?" until the cops come for him. You know, for the biggest offense in the whole human history, trying to get fit. I felt really bad for him. I'm not the most in shape guy and running is my thing. I was running on the road next to the beach in Florida. About 6 in the morning. As I move to pass a woman, I call out that I'm passing her on her left. She whips around and pepper sprays me in the face. And runs off. Being called creepy if I don't look the best or if I try to get a girl. My sister summed this up perfectly when I asked her if it's creepy for a guy to hit on her at the gym. It depends on how hot he is. Single quote. So I have a 1000% chance of being creepy in a gym. F King great. I'd be afraid to be a male teacher. How easy would it be to give a girl student a failing grade they deserve, or just pissing them off any kind of way? But it's a crazy one who ends up accusing you of something awful? While that's specific, it's a general fear. Just the accusation itself will cost you your career. Being abused in public by a woman and having people laugh instead of intervening to help you. Also the whole to be a man you have to act a certain way. Brutal. Oh, this just happened to me a few weekends ago. Getting hit in public and having no option but to try to escape the situation is no fun. I would think it would be being expected to do all the heavy lifting. To me, as a 64-year-old woman, I do my best to move things on my own. If I must ask for help, I make sure my helpers are well compensated with cold tasty beverages and snacks, food. Just because you're a male doesn't mean it's your legacy to be a physical workhorse. Having an even harsher reaction when I'd go against gender roles. I mean, as a woman, there's backlash sometimes, but there's a whole movement very publicized that tells me that I can do whatever I want. And F the naysayer. I don't feel a man that would want to do something for girls or for women as that much support. Only one orgasm at a time. Emotional unavailability of others. As a woman, I definitely face a lot of hardships that men don't have to deal with. But when I'm at my point of breaking, sobbing and inconsolable, I know I can message one of my friends, usually one of the girls, and cry and be to them about it, and they will listen to me and really connect with me. They will tell me why the person who did that is. How difficult it must be to deal with. How strong I am for persevering in the face of adversity. On the other hand, I've spent my life trying to be a non-judgmental source of venting for my male friends, and I've found that basically everyone who I'm like that with ends up either thinking I'm into them romantically, or expressing how grateful they are for something they get so little of. Guys are told to just suck it up and push their emotions down. And I think it is harmful to all of us. Having everyone discredit and treat you poorly if you're not over 5 feet 10 inches, like you're a 5 feet 5 inches guy, and every girl turns you down cause of your height. I know not every girl is heightist, but if every single short guy can tell you a couple stories of being turned down cause of their height, then I mean, come on. Most women think there's nothing wrong with being abusive and cruel with men. It's so upsetting watching women treat men like absolute s. To top it off, men are expected to still act like a gentleman, and also they're not allowed to feel vulnerable. Or to feel sad, angry because some lady was just a little sassy, when in reality she was being abusive. Piece of s. Edit, I'm a woman, not a heartbroken dude. Thanks for your concern, lol. I actually dated a chick who was casually physically abusive. It got to the point that I would flinch when she moved her hands too close to me. She made comments about how she doesn't understand why I flinch like her last boyfriend did. Left that real quick. Being considered a possible threat by strangers. Probably. Like, I get it. You never know. But it would probably suck. Either that or the D in balls. Like, they're just dangling there. Are they in the way? How do you straddle stuff? Will you accidentally squish them? Do you have to tuck them into your underwear? Harsher prison sentences, conditions. The constant insecurity of whether you're man enough. I have a friend like this. He gets upset when someone outgrips him on a handshake. I mean, very upset. Becomes the main topic of discussion for at least 5 minutes. He's a very thin guy and not the strongest, but I've known him since high school and he's always been very defensive about his manliness. Used to lie a lot about fights he's been in and girls he slept with. When he was actually a virgin. You're the ones who have to kill the big hairy spider. Being expected to be the breadwinner, generally by society, being less likely to gain custody of my own kids in a separation, being disposable in times of war, DIY. And having to deal with my own balls. What if I sat on one? Ouch. I would be terrified of my D getting stuck in a zipper. Just wear underwear. Seriously. In 23 years of wearing jeans, that has never happened to me. Good point. But it still terrifies me. I was RPed, haha, good one. Oh boy. I remember in my last year of high school, I talked to a couple friends of mine about a time where an older middle school bully started to fondle my junk on the bus. A girl that I was sort of friends with that one of them was dating came in towards the end and got angry at me that I would joke about getting stead. I told her I wasn't lying and that it really happened and she started laughing at me. Jesus F. King Christ. Reminds me of this poor guy that hit the front page with his heartbreaking story of how he was mocked by 3 girls about his D size. He posted about it because they had the nerve to post #MeToo or a hashtag of some sort, sad face. Having to chase after women. I'd give up halfway. Honestly. That's what I've always been doing. F it. If it happens, it happens. It usually doesn't. Being told that your masculinity is a defect has to be soul-crushing. This is probably the most interesting Women of Reddit post I've seen yet. The drips in my drawers after I had a pee.